This is your weekly report on corruption in the Philippine government. 4 suspected kidnappers, including 2 dismissed police officers, were killed in a rescue operation involving a 78-year-old businessman in Parañaque City on Wednesday night. The victim was safely rescued following an operation led by the Philippine National Police Anti-Kidnapping Group. In a press briefing on Thursday, PNP spokesperson Brigadier General Randolph Tuano said the victim was abducted on Tuesday afternoon. The victim, an Indian national who had been naturalized as a Filipino citizen, was last seen heading home to Makati City before being abducted. The suspects called the victim's daughter-in-law using her own cell phone, where they informed the daughter-in-law that her father-in-law was the victim of kidnapping and they initially demanded 50 million pesos, Tuano said. The daughter-in-law and then the husband reported the incident to the AKG, he added. In the same press briefing, PNP AKG Chief Brig General Glicirio Cancileo said the operation stemmed from the request for assistance of the victim's relatives. He said the suspects initially asked for a 50 million pesos ransom but later agreed to reduce it to 10 million pesos. According to the police, the suspects opened fire during the rescue operation, triggering a shootout. 4 suspects sustained injuries and were immediately brought to the hospital, where they were declared dead on arrival. Right after the confrontation, we immediately brought them to the hospital. They were dead on arrival, Cancileo said. Tuano said 2 of the slain suspects were former police officers who had gone absent without leave and were eventually dismissed from service. Evidence recovered from the vehicles included PNP uniforms, one bearing the name Fabris, a firearm with magazines and ammunition, a hand grenade, and multiple license plates. An undetermined amount of ransom money was also recovered. Police said at least 3 more suspects remain at large, and the motive behind the kidnapping has yet to be established. Follow-up and hot pursuit operations are ongoing to identify, locate, and apprehend the remaining individuals involved, the PNP said in a statement. The Philippine National Police on Friday vowed to secure the dismissal and prosecution of 6 Philippine Coast Guard personnel arrested in an anti-cigarette smuggling operation in Misamis Oriental. PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. said he has ordered the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group to help build a strong case to ensure the suspect's conviction. It is highly unfair that while our men and personnel of other government agencies that include PCG personnel themselves are risking their limb and life against smugglers, these people were actually in cahoots with them, Nartates said in a statement. In coordination with the PCG leadership, we will make sure that these 6 Coast Guard men will not only be dismissed from the service but will also spend years in jail, he added. Authorities recovered 205 master cases of smuggled cigarettes worth 3.075 million pesos and an L300 van during the operation conducted by the PNP Maritime Unit and local police in Nawan Town early Friday morning. The illegal items were found inside a Coast Guard substation along the shoreline of Purok 5, Poblacion. The 6 PCG personnel and a civilian suspect were arrested after reportedly being caught off guard during the raid. These people are assigned in different substations, so we are looking into a network of connivance for both smuggling and distribution. We will dig deeper and we will make sure that those involved will be held accountable, Nartates said. The PNP has forwarded its report to PCG leadership, with both agencies coordinating for a deeper investigation. The PCG has also initiated its own investigation into the incident. In a statement, PCG spokesperson Commodore Nomi Kabayab said the PCG is fully cooperating with the PNP towards a thorough and impartial investigation. The command maintains a zero-tolerance policy against any form of illegal activity. Personnel found to have violated the law shall face administrative and criminal proceedings. If proven guilty, sanctions will be given, including dismissal from the Coast Guard service with forfeiture of benefits, Kabayab said. She said the incident does not reflect the standards upheld by the organization, which remains committed to integrity and accountability in public service. The PCG assures the public that it will take decisive action to uphold institutional integrity and maintain public trust, she said. According to a police report, 2 of the PCG personnel were assigned to the PCG Southwest and Northern Mindanao, while the others were from substations in Lagandingan, Lugate, Libertad, and El Salvador City. The Philippine National Police Internal Affairs Service has filed administrative charges against 8 police officers who were found to be involved in a shooting incident that resulted in the death of 2 of their colleagues and a Bureau of Corrections personnel in Barangay Irawan last Good Friday, the 3rd of April. Colonel Dennis de Leon, the city's police director, said the 8 were found liable by the PNPIAS after a parallel investigation in the tragic Good Friday incident. De Leon said among the police officers charged were Corporal Renato Bendana and Staff Sergeants Jonah Balangan, Michael Wan and Josephine Carpio. Bendana and Balangan were the first two involved in an altercation that led to a brawl, after which they left and called for backup. They returned after a few minutes together with Wan and Carpio and Staff Sergeants Ryan Chris Cabana and Jason Fernandez. Another commotion broke out which led to a shootout where Cabana and Fernandez were killed along with Bucor personnel CO1 Jason Talon. After the incident, the police officers were found to be under the influence of alcohol and went to the crime scene in civilian clothes. Bendana is facing multiple cases that include 2 counts of grave misconduct, conduct unbecoming of a police officer, grave neglect of duty, irregularity in the performance of duty, and inefficiency and incompetence in the performance of official duties. Balangan, Wan and Carpio on the other hand were charged with grave misconduct, grave neglect of duty, irregularity in performance of duty, and inefficiency and incompetence in the performance of official duties. Aside from the 4, also charged were Staff Sergeant Ronald Ello, who was the duty desk officer, grave neglect of duty and insubordination, and Chief Master Sergeant Isidro Labrador Jr., who was charged with grave neglect of duty. Lieutenant Raven Payang meantime was charged with grave neglect of duty under the doctrine of command responsibility, while Major Ray Aaron Eleanor, former Police Station 2 commander, was charged with neglect of duty also under the doctrine of command responsibility. The 8 police officers are now under restrictive custody of the City Police Office. De Leon further stated that they could be meted with a penalty of dismissal from service or demotion to 1 rank lower and 6 months suspension, depending on the result of the summary hearings against them. He added that the regional IAS where the administrative cases were filed will assign a summary hearing officer who will conduct the proceedings. It will depend on the result of the hearing because we have what we call aggravating and mitigating circumstances. So it will depend on how the gravity of their offense will be appreciated by the summary hearing officer, De Leon said. A police officer is under investigation for allegedly hitting a tricycle driver involved in a recent vehicular accident in this city. The tricycle driver fled but crashed into another tricycle. The police officer approached and struck him in the head. The incident was posted online and became viral. The Tuguegarao City Police Station and Police Regional Office 2 strongly condemned any form of police violence. The police officer was relieved along with his commander and team leader. PRO2 Director Police Brigadier General Antonio P. Moralac Jr. assured the people that any policeman violating Philippine national police policies and regulations would be held accountable. He urged the public to be cautious and responsible in sharing unverified information, saying this could cause misunderstanding between the police and the community. Moralac emphasized that police remain committed to enforcing the law, maintaining peace and order, and protecting the welfare of the community. The Philippine National Police placed a 41-year-old police training instructor under restrictive custody and launched investigations after a female trainee accused him of raping her twice inside a Cordillera facility earlier this year. PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. said in a statement on Sunday that the instructor has been disarmed and transferred to the PNP training headquarters in Laguna while criminal and administrative cases are prepared against him. Depending on the severity of the crime, administrative sanctions include summary dismissal from service, suspension, reprimand, demotion in rank, forfeiture of salary and restrictive custody. Criminal sanctions include reclusion perpetua, or imprisonment for 40 years for each count, although the once heinous crime of rape is also covered by Republic Act No. 105/92, or the Good Conduct Time Allowance Law. Based on initial findings, the 23-year-old complainant filed a formal complaint on the 13th of April, alleging she was sexually assaulted twice. The first incident allegedly occurred on the 20th of January at around 2 am, while the second happened on the 8th of February at about 1 p.m., both inside the Cordillera Administrative Region Training Center in Baguio City. The trainee claimed she was called to the instructor's barracks on both occasions where the alleged incidents occurred. She already submitted a sworn affidavit and is currently undergoing psychological assessment. To our personnel, especially women, you are safe to speak up. You are protected and we will not abandon you. We will act swiftly and fairly, said Nartates in a mix of English and Filipino. We assure the public that due process will be observed. The complainant is undergoing proper support and evaluation as part of the investigation, the top cop said. Nartates emphasized that the case would be handled with urgency and transparency, adding they take this allegation with utmost seriousness. 7 police officers were relieved from their posts for allegedly imposing unauthorized additional fees to lodge Philippine National Police trainees at the Cordillera Administrative Region Special Training Unit. A copy of the relief order shared by PNP Training Service Director Brigadier General Rolando Sugalan, in a press briefing in Camp Crame on Monday, showed that the implicated officers were a police colonel, a police major, a police lieutenant, a police master sergeant, and 3 patrolmen. Sugalan did not identify the implicated officers or explain their roles in the alleged scheme. The relief order was dated the 19th of April and took effect on the same date. We have a zero-tolerance policy for all forms of irregularities committed by our personnel. We've already sent a team of investigators, Sugalan said in Filipino. He explained that the move was done to address a social media post that went viral over the weekend, which alleged that police trainees in the field training program are charged an additional 500 pesos to stay in the required billeting areas, which are temporary housing or barracks. The social media post, made by a certain Griffin Belvaldez Olsimerains Dodden, was uploaded on the 17th of April. Sugalan said he was made aware of the post's allegations on the 18th of April. When asked whether there was credibility to the social media post, hence the PNP's response, Sugalan said in Filipino, "All reports, whether anonymous or fictitious, we will pay attention to. That is part of maintaining integrity in the PNP service, especially in the training we're handling. Nothing will be lost by paying attention to these claims. It may or may not have happened." He also said the most recent field training program at the RTSUCAR was completed last December. The reported former mayor who made a gas attendant chase his car along Maharlika Highway in Alacapan, Cagayan for his vlog is facing a lifetime ban on driving, the Land Transportation Office said Monday. "We will revoke his driver's license for life, and his vehicle will be put on alarm so that he cannot use it," LTO Chief ASEC, Marcus Lacanileo told Super Radio DZBB, as he revealed that the vlogger was a former mayor. "He is reportedly a former politician, a former mayor," he added. Lacanileo said the ex-politician fueled up at a gas station and fled without paying the bill from the passenger seat. He then took a video of the pump attendant, an indigenous person, chasing their vehicle for his vlog. "It's unacceptable for him to treat the pump attendant like a toy and made him chase them amid the heat. The pump attendant is an indigenous person. People are not toys," Lacanileo said. He added that based on the report, the former mayor apparently owned the gas station where the pump attendant was working. "It is unacceptable to make fun of or create content from a situation that clearly places someone in danger, especially at a time when we are experiencing the effects of the fuel price hikes. This type of behavior is not only irresponsible, but shows a lack of compassion," said Lacanileo during his interview. "There is nothing amusing about this, and should not be copied. The use of a vehicle has a corresponding responsibility, and these should be used with respect to others and the law," he added. LTO also issued a show cause order against the mayor, driver, and registered owner of the vehicle. They are directed to explain why they should not face administrative cases, including reckless driving, and why they should not be declared as an improper person to operate a vehicle. The driver is also directed to surrender his driver's license, which is under a 90-day preventive suspension. The police officer driving the police minibus involved in a collision with a public utility bus has been relieved from his post, the Philippine National Police said on Monday. The incident happened near the EDSA Bus Carousel Main Avenue station around 5 p.m. on the 17th of April, the third day of the transport strike, and the PNP's Libreng Sake program in response to the protest action. In a press briefing at Camp Crame, PNP Logistics Support Service Director Brigadier General Noel Vallo said that upon hearing the news, he immediately caused the transfer of the driver and his immediate supervisor to the holding and accounting unit pending proper investigation. "That's clear. There is no sacred cow here. If you make a mistake, then bear the consequences. If there is negligence on your part, you have to explain. Administrative is ongoing on the liability of our personnel." The driver, Vallo told reporters, "Our reaction is swift because PNP Chief Nartuta strictly ordered a zero-tolerance policy with regards to erring policemen," he added. He said PNP marked vehicles are allowed to use the EDSA bus lane during the 3-day transport strike to provide resources to aid the riding public, but the driver miscalculated while turning left and hit the bus. In a separate press briefing at the National Police Commission in Quezon City, Napolcom Commissioner Rafael Calinazan said he directed the Inspection, Monitoring and Investigation Service to conduct a motor proprio investigation against Master Sergeant Jennifer Bradico, the driver of the PNP minibus. This after the bus driver, Jesse Soledad, alleged that Bridico demanded for his driver's license after the incident. He noted that what could have been a simple incident was unnecessarily escalated, pointing out that the officer failed to extend a basic apology, remained unyielding, swerved across multiple lanes, and even demanded payment for the damage to the police vehicle. The Neapolitan will also investigate Quezon City Police District Traffic Enforcement Unit Chief Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Lim for allegedly preparing a misleading progress report claiming an amicable settlement between Soledad and Bridico, which the bus driver denied. "We have to win the hearts and minds of Filipinos every single day. We in government, whether clerk or high-ranking official, we are called to serve with integrity. This is a clear mandate of our president, to serve with integrity and honesty, and to cleanse the ranks of the police force. It is not easy to question a police officer, but it is our duty as the police of the police. We will do our job, no matter how difficult it is, to protect the integrity of the police service and the trust of the people," Kalinazan said. Meanwhile, PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. ordered an administrative review to determine the circumstances of the incident and to check whether proper protocols were followed. He said the probe will also look into command supervision and possible lapses in discipline within the unit involved. "Clearly, it shows a state of discipline over our drivers. I am asking the concerned directorial staff to issue the corresponding reminders and to ensure that corrective measures be served to those erring personnel," Nartates said in his speech during Monday's flag raising at Camp Crame. A retired 67-year-old member of the Philippine Marine Corps was arrested in Taguig City for allegedly using his gun to threaten a group that was drinking on the street, the Southern Police District said on Monday. The purported altercation began on Sunday night after a group of individuals drinking along Camachile Street in Barangay North Signal started murmuring near the suspect, identified only by the alias William, according to the SPD in a statement. The suspect then forcibly grabbed a 15-year-old male member of the group. When bystanders intervened, the suspect reportedly drew a caliber .45 firearm, pointed it at the minor and other individuals, and later confronted another victim, whom he allegedly held by the wrist while still armed, the SPD explained. At the height of the commotion, the suspect allegedly fired a shot into the ground, causing panic among residents in the area, it added. The victims then sought police assistance, prompting officers to launch a follow-up operation at the suspect's residence. Authorities recovered his caliber .45 firearm, a used shell and a magazine with 3 live rounds of ammunition. The suspect was taken into police custody, awaiting inquest proceedings for a case of grave threats, alarm and scandal, and illegal discharge of a firearm before the Taguig prosecutor's office. The looming criminal case also involves violations of Republic Act No. 105/91 or the Firearms and Ammunition Regulation Act and RA No. 7610 or the Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation and Discrimination, the SPD added. Meanwhile, the confiscated gun was turned over to the SPD Forensic Unit for ballistic examination and verification as to its registration status and licensing compliance. Vice President Sara Duterte now faces orders to return $448 million in confidential fund spending after the Commission on Audit flagged another 375 million pesos on top of 73.28 million pesos it already rejected earlier this month. The new ruling, dated the 31st of March, 2026, covers 3 cash advances of 125 million pesos each released between February and the 20th of September 23. State auditors found the money was spent in violation of government rules. It is especially flagging the Duterte's transfer to unauthorized officers, used for awards with no proof of successful operations, and the lack of documents to substantiate the actual expenditures. A copy of the notice of disallowance was shared by Representative Terry Ryden, a member of the House Justice Committee. A notice of disallowance is COA's formal rejection of a government expense it deems irregular, excessive, or unjustified. Once final, the officials named in the notice are legally obligated to return the money out of their own pockets. Philster.com has reached out to COA to verify the document and is awaiting a response. At the center of this new COA ruling is Duterte's directive to release cash advances to Colonel Raymond Dongte P. Lachica, who was, at the time, head of her security group. Under the joint circular governing confidential funds, the money should have gone only to the designated special disbursing officer. Of the 375 million pesos, COA flagged 261.3 million pesos in specific deficiencies, according to the document shared by Ryden. It says the OVP spent 62 million pesos on rewards but failed to submit documents proving the intelligence or surveillance operations behind them were successful, as required by the joint circular governing confidential fund use. The document also says the OVP spent another 199 million on supplies and medical aid and backed the purchases with acknowledgement receipts instead of official receipts. A further 150,000 pesos was disbursed before the cash advance had been granted, going against government rules for the disbursement of the secret fund. According to the notice, this is the second time COA has rejected the OVP's confidential fund spending. The first, covering 73.28 million pesos spent in 11 days on the 20th of December 22, was appealed by Duterte. However, COA upheld the disallowance in a ruling the 10th of April, which was shared during the House Justice Panel's impeachment hearing on the 14th of April. 4 individuals were named personally responsible for the 2023 amount. Duterte, for approving the transactions, Gina F. Acosta, Special Disbursing Officer, Julieta L. Villadelri, Chief Accountant, and Colonel Lachica. The same officials minus Lachica were named in the 2022 disallowance. While the 2022 disallowance is deemed final, though Duterte can still challenge it before the Supreme Court, the second disallowance can be appealed within 180 days of receipt. The OVP did not immediately provide a response to the COA document shared by Raiden. Duterte's use of confidential funds has been under scrutiny since mid-2023, when COA's annual audit report revealed her office spent 125 million pesos in secret funds in just 11 days in the 20th of December 22. It was an amount that drew scrutiny as it came from the Office of the President's Contingent Fund, released upon Duterte's request, and raised questions about whether the transfer had legal basis. The OVP received another 500 million pesos in confidential funds for 2023, broken down into 125 million pesos per quarter. It spent 375 million pesos across the first 3 quarters before deciding not to use the final tranche. Around the same time, Congress stripped her office in the Department of Education, which she also headed at the time, of confidential fund allocations for 2024. House investigations that began in 2024 unearthed further questions with Duterte's use of secret funds. Acknowledgement receipts submitted to COA contained names that could not be found in the Philippine Statistics Authority's civil registry. Duterte's special disbursing officers told lawmakers they did not know how the funds were actually spent and stressed that their role was limited to withdrawing cash and handing it to Duterte's security officers. These alleged irregularities in Duterte's use of secret funds have followed her all the way to the second round of impeachment against her. She was first impeached by the House in the 20th of February 25, but the Supreme Court nullified the case that July on procedural grounds. New complaints were filed in February 2026 after the 1-year constitutional ban lapsed, and the House Justice Committee began hearings on the 25th of March. The panel is expected to wrap up proceedings by the 29th of April, with the Senate already preparing for a potential trial. Duterte, who announced her 2028 presidential bid in February, has petitioned the Supreme Court to halt the proceedings and called them unconstitutional. She has not attended any of the hearings and maintains the accusations against her are contrived by her political enemies in Congress. The Philippine National Police on Tuesday said 908 personnel have been penalized from the 26th of August, 2025 to the 15th of April, 2026, in line with its zero-tolerance policy on misconduct. Of the total, 326 personnel were dismissed from service, including 32 police commissioned officers, 289 police non-commissioned officers, and 5 non-uniformed personnel. Another 53 were demoted, 199 suspended, and 26 reprimanded, while 304 cases resulted in dismissal or exoneration after due process. According to PNP data, absence without official leave is the leading cause of dismissal with 118 cases, followed by other grave offenses, 44, and robbery or extortion, 33. Cases involving arbitrary detention, and lawful arrest, violation of domicile, and maltreatment of prisoners reached 24, while violations of Republic Act 9262 or the Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004 totaled 23. The PNP said other grave offenses ranged from murder, illegal discharge of firearms, and graft-related cases, to rape, kidnapping, and estafa. All underwent administrative and legal processes before penalties were imposed, it said. Drug-related offenses, meanwhile, accounted for 24 cases, including 13 personnel who tested positive for illegal drugs and 11 linked to drug activities. Other violations included breaches of Republic Act 11053 or Anti-Hazing Act of 2018, 12 cases, Republic Act 10591 Section 38 or planting of evidence, 8, and Republic Act 9745 or Anti-Torture Act of 2009, 2. PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. said these cases represent only a small fraction of the police force. Majority of our police officers continue to serve with professionalism, honesty, and dedication to duty, he said in a statement. A fire volunteer filed administrative complaints before the National Police Commission against a Manila Police District personnel for allegedly blocking their truck during a fire incident, and the officer's brother for allegedly harassing him. In a statement on Tuesday, Napolcom said the complainant, identified as Manila Department of Social Welfare fire volunteer Royce Del Rosario, filed the complaint at their Quezon City office last Monday. This came after Del Rosario and his team tried to respond to a reported fire in Barangay 121 last Thursday but were supposedly blocked at the corner of Martyr and Capulong streets by a motorcycle driven by an MPD officer. He got off his vehicle and blocked our truck. From my observation, he may have been under the influence of alcohol. He began hitting our fire truck, cursing at us, pointing at me and introducing himself as a police officer while appearing to be taking out his gun, Del Rosario said in his complaint. According to Napolcom, the implicated officer, a police master sergeant, supposedly apologized to Del Rosario in a meeting at the MDSW office later that day. However, according to Napolcom, last Friday, the implicated officer's brother, also an MPD personnel whose rank was not disclosed, allegedly sought the names of the fire volunteers. Them asking for my name was when I feared for my safety. The two siblings who were also police officers harassed the barangay staff to get our names, Del Rosario said. The complaint was forwarded to the Napolcom Inspection, Monitoring and Investigation Service. If IMIS finds probable cause to proceed with an administrative case, the two officers may be charged with grave misconduct and conduct unbecoming of a police officer. Napolcom, in line with its constitutional mandate to exercise administrative control and supervision over the Philippine National Police, is expected to act on the complaint in accordance with established rules and due process, the commission stressed in the statement. The Manila City Council has suspended two barangay officials for 6 months after finding them guilty of grave misconduct, gross neglect of duty, and conduct unbecoming of a public officer in connection with a case involving a minor. Both suspended officials are assigned to barangays in the Sampaloc area. The City Council confirmed the penalty, the maximum allowed, was imposed during the Manila City Council's regular session on the 20th of April, where it sat as a quasi-judicial body. According to the council, the officials failed to act on the incident promptly and did not immediately assist the victim's family or coordinate with authorities. Findings showed that the officials delayed releasing a copy of the CCTV footage needed for the police investigation and filing of charges. They were also cited for taking 3 days to suspend the suspect, a barangay tanod, which allegedly gave the perpetrator time to escape. Manila Vice Mayor Cayatinza said the decision reflects the council's firm stance against abuse of authority, especially in cases involving minors. Today, we have used our quasi-judicial function to fight for justice and to show that in Manila, we take abuse of authority seriously, Atinza said. Several councillors also condemned the barangay's handling of the case, stressing that public officials must act swiftly and responsibly, particularly when a child's welfare is at stake. The Manila City Council said the ruling serves as a warning that negligence and misconduct will not be tolerated, especially in cases involving vulnerable sectors. The identities of the suspended officials were not immediately disclosed. That's all for this week. I'll see you next Friday with more stories of corruption and foolishness within the Philippine government.